While the girl was struggling to breathe, her small hands reached upward, grasping for freedom, for mercy. But her uncle, IJILA, covered her with earth, pressing down harder and harder until the only thing that remained of her were her small hands, buried upward. Her spirit cursed all daughters of IJILA from that day forward.
The villagers sat in silence, absorbing the horror of the story. They could feel the presence of the lost child in the air around them, in the chill of the night wind. But there is only one way to lift this curse. There's nothing else to do except what I am about to reveal. Or else the curse will linger and your daughters in generations still come will have bow and hanged hands worse than the ones we see right now, the seer said, breaking the silence. To free yourselves, you must find her remains, the remains of the murdered daughter of Ochula. The spirit of the girl must be reunited with her father, Ochula, who died in despair, searching for his missing daughter. Her spirit cannot rest until she is given a proper burial by her family, honored and loved as she was in life. The search for the young girl's remains cast a heavy silence over the once celebratory gathering in IJILA. Families, still wearing the garments they had donned for the festival, dug feverishly through the soft, fertile earth that lay between IJILA and the river's edge. The words of the seer haunted them, reverberating in their minds. The spirit cannot rest until she is given a proper burial by her family, honored and loved as she was in life. The villagers worked from dawn until dusk, scouring each inch of soil along the riverbank, but days turned into a week, and hope was thinning. Discontent brewed. Some began to doubt the seer's words. Others believed the curse was something they were fated to carry forever. But amidst the muttering crowd, one voice trembled with old knowledge, the voice of Ochib. Ochib, who had lived through many seasons in IJILA, was no stranger to the strange happenings of the land. Her hands, veined and worn, shook as she stepped forward during an evening gathering. Her voice, like the whisper of old leaves, broke the anxious silence. "I remember," she said, her words careful and slow. "As a girl, there was a patch of earth near the river where nothing ever grew. Even in the seasons of bounty, that spot was bare, almost as though it belonged to another world." A chill settled over the crowd as the villagers looked toward the riverbank, now dusted with the orange hues of dusk. No one had thought to question that strange barren patch, accepting it as an inexplicable oddity of nature. But now, Ochib's words gave it a new, eerie significance. Under the cover of darkness, villagers gathered their tools, lanterns flickering as they made their way to the river's edge, following Ochib's slow but resolute steps. The villagers began digging at Ochib's barren spot, layer by layer, until their shovels struck something different, a small patch of earth darker than the rest. The air around it grew still, heavy with the weight of secrets long buried. As they removed more dirt, they uncovered what they feared, and perhaps expected, a scattering of bones, delicate and small. No one spoke, but the sorrow in their eyes said it all. The girl's remains lay before them, a silent witness to the cruelty she had endured. Her bones were faintly curled, as if still reaching upward in that final plea. The sight stirred something within each of them, a deep shame and a sense of kinship with the child they had never met. Many villagers turned away, unable to look, while others whispered prayers of forgiveness. They gathered her bones carefully and wrapped them in cloth, preparing to bring her back to the village as gently as if she were alive. As dawn broke over IJILA, the villagers stood in solemn procession, following the small bundle carried by the elders. They had chosen a resting place near Ochula's grave, believing that reuniting the girl with her father would bring peace to both her spirit and to their cursed village. At the burial site, the ceremony was humble yet deeply reverent. Villagers knelt, touching their foreheads to the ground, some murmuring apologies, while others offered words of repentance. Mothers wept openly, their faces streaked with tears as they thought of their own daughters, who had suffered from the curse and had endured the painful births that left them scarred. As they laid the girl's remains beside her father's grave, the village head spoke, his voice trembling with a mixture of sorrow and relief. "We return you to your family, child," he said. "May you rest in peace, and may your spirit forgive us." One by one, each villager stepped forward, laying flowers, trinkets, and even personal treasures at the girl's grave as tokens of repentance. The oldest elders, men and women who had once dismissed the rumors of a curse, bowed low, their faces etched with regret. It was an acknowledgement of the role they had played, whether through denial or silence, in the suffering that had plagued IJILA for generations. As the final handfuls of earth covered the girl's grave, a sense of peace settled over the gathering. They whispered prayers into the morning breeze, hoping that the spirit of the girl would hear their pleas and lift the curse that had bound their daughters for so long. The breaking of the curse. In the days that followed the burial, a change began to sweep over IJILA. A pregnant mother who returned for the celebration went into labor. It was another night of no sleep in IJILA, for every living being was awake, awaiting to know the fate of the newborn. First, the news came that it was a girl, then followed another awaited anticipation: she was not born with bow arms. This news echoed through the land and beyond. Days, months, and years passed, and with each dawn, the miraculous came to stay. The arms of newborn daughters began to hang naturally by their sides. Mothers cradling newborn daughters found that their arms hung naturally by their sides. The telltale mark of the curse, the hanging arms, had disappeared. For the first time, daughters of IJILA were born without the twisted burden that had scarred generations. Women no longer feared the pain of childbirth, and for the first time in living memory, laughter filled the air as babies were born into the world with ease. The tension that had gripped IJILA began to lift, replaced by a joy so profound it felt sacred. News spread quickly to Ochula and beyond, and soon, those who had fled the village returned, drawn by the promise of a life unburdened by the curse. Even Miss Mag, now elderly but full of curiosity, returned to witness the transformation of the village she had left behind. With her, she brought stories of IJILA to share with her own children and grandchildren, as she too had long wondered about the mystery of the hanging arms. A lasting lesson. In time, the story of the cursed hanging arms became part of IJILA's folklore. The villagers taught their children about the tragedy of the young girl who had suffered at the hands of her uncle, IJILA, and they recounted the tale of redemption that followed. They told it not as a story of blame, but as a reminder of the consequences of cruelty and the redemptive power of humility and repentance. The villagers built a small shrine near the river where the girl had been found, and each year, they gathered to honor her memory. They lit candles, living tokens of gratitude and love for the girl who had unknowingly saved them all. The shrine became a symbol, not only of the curse that had been lifted but of the unity that had blossomed in IJILA as a result. As the years passed, the once haunted village became a place of peace, where visitors were welcomed and children were cherished. The daughters of IJILA grew into women unburdened by the sins of their ancestors, free to reach out to the world without fear, and with arms unbound by history's shame. The tale of IJILA and the curse of hanging arms endures to this day, passed down through generations as a reminder. The story teaches that the evils of pride, cruelty, and jealousy can have unseen consequences, rippling through time in ways we cannot foresee. But it also speaks to the power of repentance, humility, and forgiveness to heal even the deepest wounds. The evils that men do live after them. But so does redemption.